So you're thinking of auditioning for worship ministry. Whether you're a seasoned pro or an aspiring beginner, serving at church is considerably different from gigging outside. Take it from me, as someone who's done both for 25 years, you'll encounter a lot of challenges assimilating to church music. With that background, here are the top 5 challenges that aren't so much deal breakers, but you get used to ministry a lot faster if you are aware of them. Number 1, you'll be playing a lot. It's just 3 to 4 songs, right? How much music am I actually going to play? Yes, indeed, there are 3 to 4 songs, which is just the main set. There's still a song of response after the sermon, a communion song if you happen to serve on a communion week, and a closing song. And if your church does a special presentation during offertory, you have that offertory song too. Brings the total tally out to a potential 8 songs. And that's not counting the liturgical music if your church does those too. The Lord's Prayer, the Gloria Patri, and the Doxology. In some churches, there are sung responses during the communion, like this. Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again. That's potentially 12 songs. I can hear some of you say, I'm safe, I play in a modern Pentecostal church. Not so fast. In a bid not to disrupt the flow of the service from one service item to the next, churches have implemented all sorts of ways to minimize silence, which can be seen as disruptive. If they aren't playing background music through the front of house, churches will rely on the music team to be in charge of maintaining the atmosphere, which in simple terms means just keep playing. Playing throughout corporate prayer, playing throughout welcome and passing of the peace, playing when the offertory bags are passed around. So suffice to say, whether you're from a traditional or a modern church, be prepared to be standing a lot as you play. That's going to tax you physically. So to avoid being mentally taxed as well, this leads us to the second challenge. Number 2, you should be memorizing your music. Seriously. Unless you're in a gospel church or a church that does jazz music, in which case please put your church name, or better yet, a link to your live stream in the comments. I really want to see a jazz service. Church music isn't that hard, objectively. Can't be, since you want it easy enough for the congregation to follow along as well as the musicians to easily adopt it. Memorizing your music is going to free up your mental load to be aware of what's happening right there and then, to be able to respond to your worship leader or music director when he calls for different sections during worship moments. That's a lot harder to do when you're glued to the music stand. I'm going to share the secret to being untethered from your music stand, and it's a skill that will help you sense the next chord that's coming up in a progression. Harmonic instinct. Harmonic referring to chords, and specifically the movement of chords in a progression. You see, you shouldn't be memorizing individual chords in isolation. D, A, B minor, G. That's mentally laborious and frankly not a lot of fun. Instead, you want to hear what the chords are saying when played together in a progression. Let's take this very simple example of the 1 chord and a 4 chord, or in the key of D, D major, and G major. When played together, the 1-4 progression evokes a certain mood, doesn't it? Let's hear a second example with a 4 chord and a 5 chord, that is G major and A major. That's a different mood from the 1-4, isn't it? The key is in identifying the mood created by the chord progression. So don't just practice chords, practice progressions. Practice short ones like what we just covered. Practice longer ones that tell a longer story like this one. Practice progressions long enough and you'll be able to identify the chords based on the emotional context behind the progression, with the goal of being able to do it by instinct, and hence the skill, harmonic instinct. I have plans to teach an entire course just on harmonic instinct, and if that's something you think will benefit you and your worship team, please comment below and tell me. I'll bump it up in my to-do list. And speaking of taking up courses on your own time, we have the third challenge. Number 3, you're responsible for your own growth. Probably. Yes, worship ministries should have training budgets to send people for courses or hiring trainers to come in for workshops or consultative work, but the stark reality is that ministries are volunteer run, and there's just no one free enough to spearhead training initiatives in church. And even if there is someone that can do this, you're going to be hard pressed to find enough people in the ministry interested and free enough to go on courses with you.
Because church guidelines say that the ministry must make a group class in order to be counted as a training expense.
Unless your church is unusually generous, you have to be self-driven to improve your skills as a musician. Of course, attending courses and taking lessons is one way to improve your technical skill, and if you have the time and the capacity to embark on a long-term commitment like that, you should go for it. But playing in a worship team takes more than just individual skill. There's also the skill of playing in a band, and the only way to do that well is to play in a band. And here's my controversial suggestion as to how to improve your band playing skills. Play outside church. People have birthday parties all the time, get married all the time, companies have dinner and dance parties all the time. There could be music interest groups at your community center or country club that regularly meet for jam sessions. Nothing levels you up faster than having to memorize 60 songs at a go or having to improvise on the fly. You will expand your repertoire so widely that church music is easy by comparison. But closer to home, the Sunday service isn't the only place where music is needed. Your church might have a corporate prayer meeting. Your church will have bereavement ministry where your music can offer pastoral comfort at wakes and funerals. You could even visit the shut-ins to lead worship with their favorite songs. The point is to play in as many contexts as possible. Solo musician, small-scale acoustic, power trio, big band. Each band configuration needs a different approach to making music, and the more experience you have under your belt, the better you'll be at fitting the right guitar parts to any song. And the great thing about gigging is that there's a baptism of fire, which is the next challenge. Number 4, you'll encounter lots of technical difficulties. Definitely. Here, I'm not just talking about mistakes like wrong notes or coming in at the wrong time. That's a matter of individual practice before the rehearsal. I'm talking about things beyond your ability to predict, like dropping your pick in the middle of a song, to things more major like the battery going flat in your preamp, a broken string right before the service, those sorts of Murphy's Law things that can go wrong. In this case, you want to be as prepared as possible. Spares of everything as much as you can. Batteries, picks, strings, special mention about strings. Unless you're a BB King who can restring while playing, you're better off having a spare guitar just in case anything on your main guitar breaks. That spare guitar doesn't have to be an expensive one. It could very well be your starter guitar that you keep in church for moments like these. Speaking of BB King and addressing technical difficulties while playing, a great reason to memorize your music is so that you can do things like these. Showing these clips not to show off, but to share with you the reality that when things go wrong, you have a choice to make. Either let it derail you and disrupt your playing, which can halt a song in its tracks, or make the most of it and soldier on. Speaking of soldiering on, we have come to the last but certainly not least challenge. Number 5, your pride will be tested. Count on it. Pride for an electric guitarist can manifest in a variety of ways. At the heart of every musician is a showman, an entertainer, someone with a penchant for making people feel good whenever they pick up the instrument. It's the nature of musical performance. But playing worship songs comes from a different direction, an approach that serves the congregation. That could mean swapping out your beloved metal zone and octafuzz pedals on your board for milder overdrives and learning to play with delay and reverb to match the tones of today's songs. That could mean being a faithful steward of playing the same part over over and over again, only varying to match a climb in dynamics. That could mean playing single notes or basic chords if you're the only guitarist on the team. Okay, instrumental, sing chords. Keep it light here. 3, 4. That could mean putting aside your ego to play children's worship songs, which might be simpler than your usual gigging standards. And that could mean only reserving the shred licks you've spent years learning right at the very end of the songs when you're cued to rumble out. If you need a performer mindset to play, then think of it this way. You're performing for the audience of one, our Lord Jesus. And what will make Jesus most happy with our performance? If it draws people to Him and not away from Him, balanced with honoring Him by playing well on our instrument. He created you to play, and He loves it when you're playing to the very best of your potential. So while it's true that we shouldn't be distracting people away from Jesus without playing, I believe you also shouldn't be underplaying. And these are my 5 top challenges when it comes to serving the worship ministry. Which one resonated with you the most? Did I miss anything out? I'd love to hear your stories in the comment section below. If you got a value out of this, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to grow the channel. Check out my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can directly support the channel by getting one of my preset packs for your Line 6 device, including the Helix, HX Storm, and Pod Go. I previously talked about what can kill the live worship experience, with footage chronicling my mistakes and fun blooper moments at a rehearsal with The Encounter. See you there.